ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। In this session, we'll be discussing from the first verse of the 11th chapter of the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the beginning of the new chapter. This new chapter is entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwaraka. It is a natural sequence of the previous chapter. Previous chapter described the departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. Now this chapter is going to describe Krishna's arrival in Dwaraka. Suta vacha anartansa upavrajya svriddhan janapadan swakan dadmau daravaram tesham vishadam shamayanniva. The meaning of this verse is, Suta Goswami said, Suta Goswami speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, he is describing these events leading to Parikshit Maharaj meeting Shukadev Goswami. So Suta Goswami said, upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis known as the country of the Anarthas or Dwaraka, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants. So, the description is now being given. Krishna has reached Dwaraka. So he sounded his conch shell to announce, herald means to announce his arrival, and that sound of his conch shell which announced the Lord's arrival was immediately able to pacify the dejection of the inhabitants. Dejection means the low spirits in which they were situated because of the absence of Krishna. Feeling separation from Krishna, they were in low spirits. Suddenly when they heard the conch shell, what happened? That's going to be described very nicely in the next few verses. So they are obviously very, very happy to hear that sound of the Lord's conch shell. Oh, the Lord has come back. And here the description of Dwaraka is the most prosperous metropolis. Simply because of the presence of Krishna, everything will be in plenty, because Krishna is the source of everything. So even in the material world, material nature will supply, as was explained in the previous chapter, material nature will supply everything we require in plenty if we simply become Krishna conscious, if we simply become devotees of Krishna. So that is also being described here. The most prosperous metropolis known as Dwaraka, called as Dwaraka. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, the beloved Lord was away from his own prosperous metropolis of Dwaraka for a considerably long period because of the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna had gone from Dwaraka to Hastinapura, and he wanted to enthrone Yudhishthira as the emperor of the world. Krishna had come for reducing the burden of the earth, which was overburdened by demoniac forces, posing as Kshatriyas, but actually they were demons. So, the last installment of wiping out these demoniac forces was done by Krishna through the battle of Kurukshetra, in which Krishna engaged his devotees, the Pandavas, in killing all these demons. But because of Krishna's presence on the battlefield, they were all liberated. And Srila Prabhupada explains, the inhabitants, because of Krishna being away from Dwaraka, they were overcome with melancholia due to the separation. Melancholia means sadness. They were overcome with sadness because Krishna was away. So, Prabhupada explains what is the relationship between the inhabitants of Dwaraka and Krishna. When the Lord descends on the earth, his eternal associates also come with him. So these inhabitants of Dwaraka are not ordinary people. They are eternal associates of Krishna. Just as the entourage of a king accompanies him. Entourage means those who surround an important personality. Wherever he goes, he does not go alone, the king. He has his ministers, he has his secretaries, he has his bodyguards, he has his servants. He has all those people surrounding him. So, like that, the Lord also has got his eternal associates always appearing with him whenever he appears in this world. Such associates of the Lord are eternally liberated souls, and they cannot bear the separation of the Lord even for a moment because of intense affection for the Lord. The associates are very, very deeply attached to Krishna. So therefore, when the attachment is very, very, very strong, then the separation also they cannot bear even for one moment. Thus the inhabitants of the city of Dwarka were in a mood of dejection, in a sad mood, low spirits, and expected the arrival of the Lord at any moment. They were alert for receiving news of the Lord's arrival. So the heralding sound of the auspicious conch shell was very encouraging, and apparently the sound pacified their dejection. Apparently, because the devotees can never be separated from the Lord, because simply by thinking of the Lord, they have his association. Simply by chanting his name, simply by remembering his pastimes. That's the absolute nature of the Lord. But still, there is a certain special feeling in the presence of the Lord. All are spiritual feelings. The feeling of separation, the feeling of the feeling of the presence of the Lord, bringing in a certain joy that the Lord has come back. All these are varieties of spiritual emotions, which are all accommodated in spiritual dealings between the devotees of the Lord and the Lord himself in the spiritual world, or even in the material world when the Lord incarnates. They were still more aspirant to see the Lord amongst themselves, and all of them became alert to receive him in the befitting manner. These are signs of spontaneous love of Godhead. So these are all special devotees of Krishna. The second verse, Sa uchchakashe dhavalo daro daro apyurukramasya adara shona shonima dadmayamana karakanja sampute yathabja khande kalahamsa utsvanaha. The meaning of the second verse is, the white and fat bubbled conch shell being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him. He blew his conch shell very loudly. Appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. The conch shell is white. Krishna is blowing by touching it to his lips, and his lips are completely red. So the conch shell appeared to become reddened. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. A simile is given. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, the redness of the white conch shell due to the lip touch of the Lord is a symbol of spiritual significance. The Lord is all spirit, and matter is ignorance of this spiritual existence. See, the ways to understand what's the difference between matter and spirit. Spirit is the spiritual substance of which the spiritual world is made. Spirit is living. Spirit is full of life, living symptoms. And matter is dead matter. It is dull. But the actual understanding of matter as opposed to spirit is ignorance of spiritual existence. Factually, there is nothing like matter in spiritual enlightenment. When somebody is spiritually enlightened, even in the material world, for them there is no matter. Or in other words, they are able to engage even matter in Krishna's service, and matter becomes spiritualized when engaged in devotional service. Spiritual enlightenment takes place at once by the contact of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. By contact with Krishna, matter becomes spiritualized. The Lord is present in every particle of his existence, and he can manifest his presence in anyone. Lord is everywhere. He is present, fully present everywhere. But for manifesting his presence, we have to make contact with the Supreme Lord. So how is this contact made? By ardent love and devotional service to the Lord, one can actually establish that spiritual contact with Krishna. Everything in spiritual contact with the Lord becomes spiritually reddened, like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. And the Paramahamsa, or the supremely intelligent person, plays the part of the ducking swan in the water of spiritual bliss. The pure devotees, who are Paramahamsas, who are supremely intelligent persons, they always are in touch with Krishna through Krishna consciousness, and they are playing the part of the ducking swan in the water of spiritual bliss. That means they are absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and in that way they are always in spiritual bliss. They are experiencing eternal bliss in contact with Krishna. So this is the description of the spiritual significance of the conch shell in the Lord's hand being reddened, the white conch shell being reddened, spiritualizing matter by contact with Krishna, or by engaging matter in Krishna's service. Our life itself, so-called material life, can become spiritualized simply by our engaging in devotional service of Krishna always. And this has to be learned from the bona fide spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, who explains how we can spiritualize our life in these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.